Due to the lack of a roadmap in Year 5 of Dead by Daylight, there is no certainty that the game will receive any more updates in terms of DLC characters. But if they do decide as a team to continue to add characters into the game, let's ask the question, what licensed characters could they add? It was mentioned early on last year that they wanted to add characters into existing maps, so with that trailer for, let's jump into the list of potential characters who could join the DBD roster. Harold the Scarecrow is a character from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, released in film format in 2019. Harold the Scarecrow, as his name suggests, is most definitely a scarecrow. His origins begin with two farmers of the names Thomas and Alfred who decided to make a scarecrow and name him Harold, another farmer who they didn't like too much. Over time, the two farmers noticed that the scarecrow would change and grow. Then one day they heard the scarecrow climb and stomp on their roof. Terrified, the two fled with their cattle. However, they realised they'd forgotten to bring their milking stools. Instead of buying new ones later down the road, they drew lots to return to the house for their original stools. Thomas was the unlucky one and had to return. After a time, Alfred looked back to see Harold holding Thomas's skinned corpse. Not only does Harold have a creepy lore, but he's a scarecrow, which would fit perfectly into Coldwind Farm, while keeping the creepy impact of his original lore from the film. Another addition to Coldwind Farm could be Jeepers Creepers. The Creeper is the main antagonist in the horror franchise Jeepers Creepers. In these, he's an ancient demonic killer who feeds on human beings for 23 days every 23rd spring, and has long been requested by fans to be added into the game. However, with the legalities of the author of Jeepers Creepers being a bit wayside, I personally don't see this one being added, but the surprise in the past. Yamoka family residence would fit any Eastern killer, such as Kyoka Siaki from the Grudge. This is an honourable mention, however, after reading about her lore and origins, it's pretty clear that the DBD devs took heavy inspiration from her to create the spirit, so it's pretty clear that she won't be added as her own standalone character. However, they have in the past added similar characters such as Hillbilly and Hannibal, so there's still a chance and I might be wrong, but time will tell. Larry's Memorial Institute. Hellraiser Pinhead. In Hellraiser 2, there's a scene set in a surgery, which could link to Larry's Memorial Institute. Pinhead is known for being a man who has been tortured for decades to the point where he loves pain torture, specifically inflicting pain and torture onto others. His lore relates to the laminate configuration, which is a puzzle box which had an ancient Mayan prince inside, which bonded to Pinhead's body in hell. The idea of a puzzle box could lend itself into an interesting power and interesting gameplay for both survivors and killers. As well as Pinhead, there are other Cenobites from the Hellraisers series, such as Chatter, who could be added to the game instead of Pinhead. The Redwood Forest is similar to the forest surrounding Crystal Lake. Jason. As all Dead by Daylight fans know, Jason has long been the point of discussion into whether he'll be added into the game. With Pyramid Head joining the ranks of Dead by Daylight, why not add Jason? Jason's lore would fit perfectly into the game, with him being bullied due to his defamation appearance until he was killed. He was then ordered by his mother to kill on behalf of her. The devs could sub the entity in for his mother to link it to the realm of the entity and fit into the game properly. The main issue with this argument is the fact that Jason on Friday the 13th is incredibly overpowered, which is intended to make players more fearful of encountering him across the game. If he was added into DBD, he would be tuned to fit in with the rest of the killers, somewhat undermining the original game and franchise Jason comes from. A way to meet in the middle for this license would be to use Pamela Voorhees, the mother of Jason, who killed Jason's bullies in the first movie. This would mean a Friday the 13th chapter, while keeping the integrity of the strength of Jason in the Friday the 13th the game. As we know from the addition of Ghostface, it's not essential for these killers to be home to original maps, which leads us to the following big licenses. Jack Torrance. Jack is a character in The Shining where he was a writer who moved to the Overlook Hotel for solitude and a place to continue his writing. While staying at the Overlook Hotel, Jack soon descended into madness, becoming the iconic killer from The Shining. Since Jack freezes to death in the last film, it could be interesting into how the entity would take him from that realm and into its own from a lore perspective. Chucky is a notorious serial killer who inhabits a good guy's doll, trying to transform his soul into a human body instead of a doll. Chucky would bring a new dynamic to Dead by Daylight, as we would have a small character which would naturally bring an aspect of stealth to the character without any thought into its power. If the Dead by Daylight team were to bring Chucky into the game, I think they would bring Chucky's previous body of the serial killer with the ability referencing the killer doll. Purely due to the fact that Dead by Daylight is meant to be a horror game, and let's be fair, if we saw a doll running towards us in DBD, there would be laughs, not screams, which definitely isn't the intent of the DBD devs. The Nun. As we all know, the Nun is a titular character in the Conjuring franchise. In 2018, The Nun was released, a spin-off to the Conjuring franchise. Not only would the Nun be a terrifying character to play against, but there is a possibility for a completely different power linked to her lore. The Nun is a demon named Valak in the films, and she can appear almost anywhere, which could lead to a similar power to Jason in Friday the 13th. The devs would have a hard time balancing this, but I think it would be a unique power for this unique killer. Alien. As you all know, the most recent chapter, there was a lot of hype towards the Alien franchise joining the likes of DBD. Now, I personally think this would be a great idea as Alien wrote horror. It's such a big franchise, and I wouldn't see too many DBD fans complaining with it being added into the game. A special mention is to Pennywise, who is rumoured to be added earlier this year, and last year, and the year before. When it's going to be added, I don't know, man. So thank you everyone for looking at these characters. I think all these would be cool, honestly, and potentially once you get all these horror names, that's it. You don't need to add any more DLCs. And peace.